Welcome back. It's now time to go in depth. Jamaican Senator Imani Duncan-Price stirred up a heated pot earlier this month when she suggested that there be a quota system to get more women in Parliament. She was speaking around the time of International Women's Day, and while she's gotten some support for the proposal, there are also some who believe that this would equate to giving women a free pass. Senator Duncan-Price now joins us on the phone along with political historian Troy Caine. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kalilah.
So, Senator, first of all, you have asked the Senate to compose a joint select committee to examine this quota proposal as one of the reforms that will help to increase women's representation. Explain for us how this quota would work and how it would accomplish those goals.
Thank you so much for having me on the program. Just to clarify, I have asked the Senate to establish a joint select committee comprised equally of same number of men and women from both the upper house, which is the Senate, those are appointed persons, as well as MPs, those are elected representatives, to look at, to examine and make practical recommendations given the continuous and consistent low representation of women in different governing authority levels, that being the Parliament, local government, as well as public bodies, where it comes to decision making. And in that context, examine what possible temporary special measures could be applied in addressing the issue on a temporary basis to create a shift. Now, in my presentation, I put forward possible ways in which things like a gender quota for a period of 10 years, 2 political cycles, would create basically a shock to the system. What I was saying was that we have had for 70 years, since we got the right to vote in this country, when the right to vote was not based on how much land you have or how much tax you pay or what color you are. The right to vote, 70 years ago. And in that time period, there have been 835 persons elected to Parliament, and in that 70 years, just 8% have been women, just over 60. And then we look at the numbers each time, we have never passed above 15% at the MP level, the lower house, and the maximum we've ever had in the Senate, where you have actual appointments, it's been 28.6%, that being this actual Senate that I have the honor to sit in, and that being a result of the most honorable Portia Simpson-Miller appointing so many women to the Senate, So my thing was that there's a persistent problem in Jamaica where it's what's occurring. And so given the fact that we know that when you have women and men working together in partnership around decision making, around policies and programs, you actually have better policies and programs that represent both the needs of both men and women, boys and girls. Then why can't we look at how to enable better and more equal representation in the Parliament?
And just to clarify, you're proposing a split of not less than 40% women and not more than 60%, or for either gender.
So it's a gender neutral, right? Because you don't want to either have too many women either. On some of the boards in Jamaica right now, in the public sector, it's right now 33% women on the public sector boards, right? That's allocating resources and looking at programs and such. But on some of those boards in particular, you have too many women. You don't want to marginalize men. You don't want in any case any marginalization.
Okay, so let me bring Mr. Caine in here. Mr. Caine, I know that you actually...
And just to clarify something, I said that in the Senate, for the appointed areas, 60-40 neutral, but for the lower house, not about reserved seats, but looking at the political party candidate slate.
Okay.
To see if it can impact there, because you don't want to touch democracy and the right to vote and vote for who you want. But maybe the parties can be encouraged to actually voluntarily take up those quotas at the candidate level. You may see a difference, as has been done across the world, by the way. I'm not talking any revolution.
So, Mr. Caine, I know that you actually dispute some of the figures that Senator Duncan-Price has presented, but apart from that, you've seen entire generations pass through Gordon House, and you're not convinced that there needs to be some sort of affirmative action for women. Why not?
Affirmative action? No, because I sincerely feel that anything like that is really a free pass for women. It's really an attempt to make free pass for women, because women, as the Senator has quite aptly pointed out, has been relatively inadequate in the political system for the 70 years. But those who have come up through the system have done that through their bootstraps, so to speak. They have worked hard. They have gotten involved with the party at the constituency level, at the division level, and have worked very hard. You don't want a system that gets a surplus of women into the system. That is not on real political merit, having worked their way up or anything like that. Like the generation of women that we now have. In fact, the whole thing on women has greatly improved over the years, as I pointed out in the article yesterday. Right? Ever since the 90s, it's really getting a lot better. Right?
Really?
I want to come back to this free pass topic.
One thing, please.
But I must point out that continuing mention of 835 people is not accurate.
All right. Before you respond to that, Senator, and also Mr. Caine, we're going to come back to that topic of the free pass. But Senator Duncan-Price.
By the way, it's not a free pass; it's a fair chance, because in the
we're going to come back to that issue. But your detractors say that we're going to come back to that issue, Senator. Your detractors say that you're assuming, though, that women will make better political representatives when that hasn't been demonstrated, even though Jamaica now has a female prime minister.
I'm not saying that. I am saying that women make up 51% of the population in this country, and therefore we need to have more equal representation in our decision-making bodies. We don't have a criteria for men to come into the politics like that. What are we talking about?
The right to majority.
And so may I finish, please? 51% by the national census.
A minuscule majority.
In the political parties, furthermore, when you get
that is not a strong point at all for introducing this kind of system.
Mr. Caine, could you let the Senator finish her point?
Thank you. In both political parties, where women have paid their political dues, the majority of the workers on the ground are women. What happens as you move up the decision-making bodies, you find that there are less and less percentage of women as you go up the stream. And my question is, and as a member of a political party, I am seeing systemic barriers, selection processes, not based on like when you go to university and you pass an exam and you get 80%, you get into the program. But there are different ways of selecting people to move up the chain. And it's a self-reinforcing system of patriarchy. It's a boys' network. And I'm saying, let's break that system. Because women are there. They're paying their political dues, Troy, and you know that.
All right, Mr. Caine, I know you want to jump in here. So what's your response to that?
No, but the question I'm asking, you're saying that women are left behind after doing all these grandiose work at the grassroots. But then whose fault is that? It's the fault of the women who allowed themselves to be left at the grassroots. And many of them have gone forward, right? Many of them with the necessary ambition to become successful politicians have gone forward and have performed and have gotten involved.
Troy,
right?
as a percent
it's
of the women available.
It's really unfair to speak about it like that.
But Mr. Caine, you have to admit that women face more barriers than men do, particularly when it comes to politics, because we are perceived a certain way. If you're too pretty, then people can't take you seriously. If you're too aggressive, people start labeling you the B word. And so as journalist Ian Boyne, let's have one person at a time speaking, please. So right now, let me just point this out. Journalist Ian Boyne noted in the newspaper this weekend that we need to move from equality of opportunity, which we have now, to equality of outcomes, because the opportunity doesn't necessarily mean that women are going to be elected just because they have the chance to be. So what do you say to that?
Well, I didn't read it on Boyne.
But you know, Troy, that's not right.
I read both yours and Ian's article. Were very strong on either side, right? But I'm saying that this argument about women being left behind and women didn't have an opportunity to go forward. Look, women have lapsed in the whole political process through their own accord. Nobody has stopped them from going forward. I don't know where anybody gets this impression that there is any stumbling block in the political parties or in the political system.
You know, may I say something, please? May I say something?
All right, we'll give you the last word, Senator. We need to wrap up now, quickly.
There have been studies and work done analyzing barriers. And, you know, it's not and we're not saying that it's just you're being blocked entirely. There are other barriers, some self-imposed, some about confidence and about leadership and so forth, but there are many factors at play. My motion spoke addressing two of the factors about a male-dominated party structure, a male-dominated governance structure, and how do we, for those two particular barriers, which have been documented from focus groups and surveys, etc., address that, while we also address the workshops on developing leadership and workshops on changing people's perspectives on who can be a leader, what it means to be a leader, and so forth, because they both have to work in tandem. We can't just have quotas by itself. We have to have a cultural shift in creating a new norm for our society as to what people can do, men and women working together in leadership for decisions that impact both boys and girls and the society.
Well, definitely,
coming from.
Definitely a hot topic. 10 minutes doesn't do this issue justice. Thank you both for joining us, Senator Imani Duncan-Price.
Thank you very much.
And political historian Troy Caine. That's it for In Depth. Stay tuned. After the break, it's time for sports.